Hello, I'm Zach OJ. Welcome back to part 2 of my Assassination Rogue Guide. On the last video, I talked about combo points, resources, bleeds, spenders, builders, poisons. In this video, I'm going to go over the rotation of Assassination Rogue. I'm going to explain the opener, your CD sequencing on both your 2-minute and your 1-minute, and then the filler in between CDs. So, starting out with your opener. The talents that I'm running, I'll put in the description, but this is just a regular single target build that you'd find on any guide, anywhere. An important thing for our opener is that we're playing Deathstalker. So Deathstalker gives us two different things that we need to pay attention to. We have Deathstalker's Mark, which, ambushed from stealth, applies 3 stacks of Deathstalker's Mark to your target. When you spend 5 or more combo points on attacks against a marked target, you consume an application of Deathstalker's Mark, dealing plague damage and increasing the damage of your next ambush or mutilate by 50%. You may only have one target marked at a time. So this is a pretty good hero talent. It's going to contribute to a lot of our damage because we're just kind of passively completing this. The other part that applies to our opener is Clear the Witness. Your next Fan of Knives after applying Deathstalker's Mark deals additional plague damage and generates 1 additional combo point. So this is going to change the way your opener works. So because Deathstalker's Mark is ambushed from stealth, applies it, the first global outside of our stealth needs to be ambush. So that is the first button we need to press ever. The things that I'm saying are going to apply to any raid fight. I can go over Mythic Plus stuff at a later time, but for now, I'm going to stay focused on raid encounters. So this Clear the Witness is going to make us have a higher priority of pressing Clear the Witness as a builder over Mutilate, which Mutilate is just our regular builder that we'd use by default pretty much. You're going to get the extra plague damage, and Fan is 15 less energy than Mutilate, so it's more efficient with your energy. So here are the 4 steps to your opener. We're going to ambush, garrote, rupture, Fan of Knives. You have to react 1 time on your opener because if you get less combo points from your Seal Fate, you might press Fan before the rupture. You just want to rupture at 5 or more combo points. So pay attention to that. So that's the opener. And now for the cooldown sequencing. So on our 2 minutes, we're going to have Deathmark, Vanish, Kingsbane, and both charges of our Shiv ready to press. Something important that we want to do before even starting these CDs is building up to 5 combo points and using Envenom before we send our CDs. So as I went over in part 1, the Envenom is an increased poison application chance, which will just add a ton of damage to our CDs. To explain all these cooldowns, we first have Deathmark. So Deathmark applies a mark to a target for 16 seconds. While marked, you garrote, rupture, and lethal poisons applied to the target are duplicated, dealing 100% of normal damage. And then we have Kingsbane. So Kingsbane does some initial damage at the start, and then it leaves a dot on the target for 14 seconds. And so each time you apply a lethal poison to a target affected by Kingsbane, Kingsbane damage increases by 20% up to 1000%. So it can stack up to 50 times. And then we have Vanish, which the interaction with Vanish is from Master Assassin, where your critical strike chance is increased by 20% while stealthed and for 6 seconds after breaking stealth. Then we have Shiv, which by default is just an enraged dispel, but as Assassination, we have another effect. Your nature and bleed damage done to the target is increased by 30% for 8 seconds. So you can start to see how all these cooldowns are going to play into each other with the bleed and poison damage. So we're going to start off our cooldown sequence by building to 5 combo points, and then we need to press Envenom before we start our CDs. I covered this in the first part. The buff for Envenom increases your poison application chance by 30%. So you see how that's really important to have that up while going into your CDs. So here's an example of my CD usage. So I start off with my Envenom, then I Deathmark, and then next is Shiv, and then we Kingsbane. Something important on the opener's Kingsbane is you can throw your T onto that, because since it's in your opening CDs, you want to get it on cooldown as fast as you can, because there's going to be a long time before you're going to need that T. And then you're just going to follow the filler priority, which I will mention both the builder priority and the spender priority after I get done with the cooldowns. So right here, when my Shiv is about to fall off, I'm going to Vanish, and then I'm going to Shiv. This will apply both Master Assassin and my Shiv debuff to keep it up. After that, I reapply my improved garrote since it was in Pandemic and I had access to it. Your 1-minute CD is going to be the same thing. You're going to have Kingsbane up, and you're going to have 2 charges of Shiv. You won't have Deathmark, you won't have Vanish, you won't have any 2-minute. So you'll do the same thing by building to 5 combo points in Venom, and then Shiv, Kingsbane, reapply the Shiv after it falls off, and that's your 1 minute. So to go over the builder and spender prio that I mentioned, both the filler during your CDs and the filler between your CDs is going to have the same prio. So you're going to have your builder priority list and your spender priority list. To go into either one of these, you need to meet one condition. Do you have 5 or more combo points? If you do, then go to your spender priority list. If you don't, then go to your builder priority list. So the builder priority list is garrote at the top, but only if it's in Pandemic. Pandemic means that the duration on your debuff is short enough that when you reapply, it's going to add the extra duration onto your new garrote. so you will not overlap and you will not waste any additional time on your bleed. For Garrote in this instance, Pandemic is extended by 5.4 seconds. So if you're under 5 seconds, it's in Pandemic. So the way Pandemic works is it takes up to 30% of the duration of an applied dot and adds it to your newly applied one. So at the top of the list is Garrote if in Pandemic, or if it's not even active, Garrote, and then Fan of Knives if Clear the Witness is up. So Clear the Witness happens after you've applied Deathstalker's Mark, and then at the bottom of the priority list is Mutilate. Mutilate is just our regular builder. Then the absolute bottom of the priority list, don't press Poison Knife. Unless you're out of range of the boss and you have maximum energy, don't press Poison Knife. One more rule that will also apply to your builders is if you have Darkest Night up. Darkest Night is a part of your Deathstalker hero talent, where when you consume the final Deathstalker's Mark from a target, or your target dies, gain 40 energy, and your next Envenom cast with maximum combo points is guaranteed to critically strike, deal 60% increased damage, and applies 3 stacks of Deathstalker's Mark to the target. When you have this up, you want to get up to max combo points before using a spender, and the spender in this case needs to be Envenom. Envenom is the only thing that will consume the Darkest Night and reapply your Deathstalker's Mark, and then onto your spender prio. So if you did have 5 or more combo points, you want to Rupture if it's in Pandemic, which is the same thing as Garrote, except the Rupture Pandemic is 7 seconds or 8 seconds. I think it's under 7 seconds is when you can reapply and don't lose anything. And then if you don't meet that condition, you Envenom. There's also another spender, Slice and Dice. This is now naturally applied through Cut to the Chase, which Envenom grants 3 seconds of Slice and Dice per combo point spent. So you don't even need to worry about Slice and Dice. It just happens now. It used to be a button we pressed. Now it's not. So that's it for part 2 of the Assassination Rogue Guide. We covered our opener, our CDs, and our filler, as well as went over the builder prio and the spender prio. You should know enough to be able to just go at it and go start killing some raid bosses. In part 3, I'll go over gearing, talents, and different talents that might change your priority list. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you, and any questions you have on this stuff, feel free to ask and I'll answer. I can also go over the Mythic Plus stuff, which is a little bit more complicated and not as straightforward as single target is, because so many different factors when it comes to dungeons, like pull count, different kinds of mobs, different priorities to kill mobs, but I can cover that in a later video. Later on, maybe in part 4, I will cover even more advanced things, but I don't want to overload a newer player or someone that's trying to improve themselves, because if I just pile on a ton of things that you should be doing, it's going to be hard to find the things that really are important to be doing, rather than everything that you could be doing. So right now, you know everything that you should be doing, and that's it. It's all very impactful stuff, and you will play much better if you play like this. So subscribe, like, comment, ask me questions, and thank you for watching.